Hello, everyone. Just to know who's who, I'm Alice, and my colleague Ioana, she's going to join me just in a moment. And since this morning we've been asked to think about our babies before starting my presentation, our presentation, I want to tell you a very short story that happened 2 weeks ago. I was traveling in Amsterdam with business issues, and as always, when I'm away from home, I needed to prove myself and the others around me that, I'm perfectly in control with my life, even remote. Therefore, as a true supermom that I am, I left behind detailed instructions, orally debriefed, hanged on the house walls, or even glued on the fridge about what has to be done every step of the way with my little girl, Sarah. Not even one day passed. I was feeling so in tune with my fate and thinking that nothing could go wrong, but not even one day passed. And Sarah got stomach flu, ended up in hospital, and everything that I carefully planned was blown up in the air. I was just learning one more life lesson about control freakness, and that I have to have a much more relaxed and, trustful outlook on things, since life doesn't go by the book anyhow. And what we have here, it's nothing else but just a replica of this type of situation in trends research. And maybe you've experienced this at your turn while researching trends, when you set off full of enthusiasm and excitement about, truly connecting with people, and you plunge hyper-responsive into the fluid timeline of life, and you capture interesting trends while they are lived unmediated by the people. And for example, you discover Andrea with what she's generally generating and embracing as trends, and clients love it, even just for one moment, until control freakness takes over, and you need to fit Andrea into the lower left little square so that she might allow sharp shooting within the brand's frame, thus, sacrificing humanity and, unfortunately, re-establishing the distance between brands and people. And I would be obviously very curious to know how many of you started trends research this way, with big hopes and smiles, and ended up that way with complex block designs. You just have to wave your hand or, smile. Okay, so our experience shows that out of the desire of having things under control, such impulses as breaking down everything until it becomes a trend, just to get backwards and cluster it into mega trends, come into play. But instead of doing this and wasting resources, time, efforts, money, even if it's about money, clients' money, okay, we'd better accept that some trends are just sparks, and they are going to disappear as such. And just for the sake of the illustration, I'll pick one in this idea, for example, firstism, as it is clear and intuitive that you cannot continuously and eternally surprise consumers as the first time with your brand's pitches, while others undertake, let's say, ongoing transformation, since consumers, follow naturally life's dynamics. And that's why, for example, we see trends such as FOMO, the fear of mystery out, the fear of missing out, turning quickly into MOMO, the mystery of missing out, just to afterwards convert into YOMO, the joy of missing out. So, practically, what we are saying is that breaking trends vertigo doesn't translate into any sort of, trends ordering or mapping out, even if it means that we have to flow among many that are fuzzy or transient or, short-lived, but it is rather about embracing reality with the relaxation and trust of accepting what's genuinely happening around, what I was telling you in the beginning. Hence, we have to accept, we have to face that there is no universal or specific trends pattern to rely on, since trends manifest differently and diversely for everyone, as long as consumers move on with their non-linear lives. And this is what brands should do just the same. So we have to escape the seduction. And we have to escape clinging on trends that at some point proved to be irresistible, just because they helped us understand today's puzzle-like reality. And, they created order, let's say, even apparently out of disorder, or connected the dots that led us to some revelations and aha moments, and we'd better admit that there is a glitch in the matrix, since it doesn't exist.
Okay, so when immersing, the next one. Okay, when immersing in consumer lifestyle, of course, you'll see that they're not particularly keen into being very coherent or constant as our segmentations would like them to be. Let's take individualism. You have to constantly pitch your special personality at every step, whether it's about landing jobs or making new friends, but we also feel this longing for community and less competition, more altruism. So actually what you get is in the end that they don't annul themselves. You just have to be special to feel worthy to blend in. If you look at women, and what's happening is that they're increasingly rejecting these moments when you're addressing them as strictly women, because of course they're persons more than before being women, excuse me. But when you look at their aspirations, the aspirational woman is actually a hyper woman. She's an Amazon couture, she's a beauty queen and a fighter. Fear of growing up, or Peter Pan syndrome, is growing in the same time with this self-monitoring, the need to quantify yourself and each progress. So we actually monitor the way we don't progress, we don't grow up. I mean, look at my phone. It's full of self-monitoring and efficiency apps. Okay, it's falling also. And FOMO, it's changing, but we internalized it. We feel the need to take every experience out there. Even spare time is beginning to feel more and more like a hard job. Play hard, work hard, play hard. And in the same time, we're also starting to feel the pressure to be more in every second, every moment. So mindfulness is growing simultaneously with FOMO. Then, if there are so many contradictions and so many contrasting trends that manifest themselves simultaneously in the same person, can we still rely on any streamline, any solid ground where we can build? Or do we need just to throw ourselves perpetually after the next trend and not really bother ourselves with brand integrity?
So practically what we are saying is that we need a trends approach that will allow us to have a tactical and moreover a strategic shift of perspective that will enable a rather, let's say, backbone type of understanding that it's more conceptual and capable of setting landmarks with higher degree of stability. And in order to do this, we have to look at the transformations that the consumers undergo within different economical stages. And for example, if we look around, we notice that we can still pick up residual traces of what used to be the norm, the collector-consumer and the economy of purchases, in which the stress falls in people's need to secure material possessions. This was the culture, if you want, of the brimful and overflowing shopping carts and refrigerators and, any other cues that reminded about the price paid for the brands and products. In general, it was about owning and about the troika of success that everybody wanted: house, car, and money. For example, in our country, a residual expression of this stage is that you have the best room in the house as being the guest room, which is quite unfair, because you want your room to be the best room in the house. Okay, so if we go farther on, we see dominantly, present time, an economy of experience and consumers, experiential consumers, because there is a shift of values between what I have to what I do. And as far as brands concerns, what brands do for me. So reality around us is showing an inflation, if you want, of experiences that consumers are embracing, going from extensive traveling to sport events for a good cause, or just, extreme experiences that provide the adrenaline rush that is needed to go beyond your personal limitations, or just, simple urban exploration while blending into the community's life. So, for example, thinking that now TripAdvisor is listing 83 escape rooms as fun stuff to do. If you are in Bucharest and considering that you are paying just for the experience, then we might understand that experience indeed went mainstream. Even my 8 years little girl asked me to go to an escape room this week because she is in holiday and she wanted to live the experience. And going ahead, what we face is the emergence of the new social economy that is defined by the ability of getting connected, doing networking, and, gathering around you smart people that inspire you, as it is, for example, Ioana, for me, so that at your turn become an inspiration, a source of inspiration, being in the same time a hub and a channel of ideas. And the virtue of brands and products in these circumstances resides in how do I get to be invested with value as an individual by their means. And the consumers transform into a prosumer type of ideator who gets actively involved in the choice of the experiences that best fit own personality and lifestyle, so as to leave own trace on the group and on the community through the ideas, this way becoming, let's say, a better valued and more recognized member. And here, the unfiltered and direct interactions with the brands from which these consumers expect a lot is the manifestation, the expression of intangible and, non-material values. And for example, I can tell you that in our country, we testify an increased interest for grassroots, non-institutionalized events, such as Open Houses Night, that stands for artists and independent journalists that have no hidden agenda and, let's say, no officially stamped ideas. And if we were to have an example for all three stages, we might simply think about shopping that went from the bulimic stage of owning to the experience, the magic of the experience and the interaction, and now it will be converted into consumerism in the attempt to, limit it as much as possible because it prevents one to truly enjoy what's important in life. And linking back to the ideas that we face the emergent stage of the social economy, we have to keep in mind that brands struggle with social because they aren't human. That's why even if brands would settle with a lower share of consumer affection, you see the left side, they still keep on being in the friend zone. So we have to remind all the time that we, as human, and I think this was said before today, are complex, but in the same time, messy and full of flaws. Plus, we are incredible social. We are driven to connect, and we wire, while brands are rather unidimensional with their guidelines and their, let's say, editorial tone of voice. Therefore, brands that truly succeed to successfully engage in micro-interactions, if you want, with people are the ones that have the opportunity to become viral. And I can give you the example of the initiative of Frou brand. This is the local Romanian version of Innocent brand that practically transforms its consumers into taste makers if, for example, they signalize on the Facebook fan brand page something that it's not okay with their products. In this way, rewarding the proactivity within the relationship between brands and people, even if it's about the brand's imperfections.
So let's take a more...
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna get the hang of this till the end. I hope. So let's take a more clear example of a project that we worked on. We did a very big project for one of our clients to see how their core values are getting modified, are shifting under this new ideator paradigm that we were talking about. And of course, we found a lot of exciting changes. For example, success is no longer about getting to a finish line, is no longer about achieving some point of your life, but it's actually about maintaining your curiosity alive and having that drive to constantly enrich yourself and build your mind and perpetually find new paths to grow mentally rather than in other ways. Happiness is again about presence of mind more than anything else. It's about giving to others ideas that make you valuable to them, make you memorable, make you appreciated through your mind. For example, I remember a girl that was telling us that her last happy experience was when she found an app that actually reminded her daily to learn something new, which gave her subjects for new conversations every day. Inspiration is about, again, motivation to renew yourself, to keep dynamic, to escape predictability, to be different in time, actually, to surprise yourself and others. And this is not just for millennials, but because it could seem that is just the shift that comes with the generation, but we actually are starting to find similar ways of thinking, even when talking with people which are, I don't know, 50 years old about the most unexpected subjects. I talked with a 15 years old woman about religious pilgrimage, and she was telling me that it's about not the relationship with divinity as you would think, or with the sacred. It's just about exposing yourself to a different mind view and getting a fresh restart for your mind. So we got back to our clients, and they were quite enthusiastic as well. They felt they could connect better with the consumer now that they understand exactly how their core values are translated. And actually briefs were flying around in all directions, trying to reshift how they planned their campaigns. And the first campaign that they did was that in the left. It was a very huge campaign. It was also a promotional campaign, which is important because in promotions you often get to spend a lot of money, give a lot of things and effort, and actually just fuel mercenary behavior from consumers without necessarily leaving an imprint about your brand values. So now they were trying to do something much different and actually create a relationship through promotions and send a message. And what they did was exactly this. They created very big, exciting challenges and contests for people which were built around this idea of fueling visionary behavior, entrepreneurial ideas. And somewhere along the line, I guess they got to cold feet. So they felt the need to get back to the safe zone and apply a method that worked before. And so they stuck all these new ideas into the multi-layer type of promotions that brands are quite accustomed with. And they put a lot of instant prices at line to make sure that consumers notice the promotions. And of course, getting back to seeing how the campaign went, it went great, because who doesn't want free lighters and free cigarettes? Consumers were very excited. They were quite enthused. Everybody knew about the campaign. There was a huge word of mouth because, again, they were smoking for free for about 1 month, and who wouldn't be happy about that? But when asking about the values and the contest and the rest of the campaign, of course, nobody actually noticed them because they were on the first page, but they were a bit lower, like millimeters lower than the freebies that they had. So again, if you give the opportunity to people to work the brand, they will, for freebies, they will work the brand for freebies, but they won't do detective work to understand the message behind and to look for the bigger values. Brands are big, they can afford to give freebies, and why not use them? In the same time, competition was doing something very interesting, very low scale, very embedded in consumer lives. They just did a simple app. It wasn't especially aesthetic or in any way, but it did something very special in the sense that you could get discounts for drinks in bars and pubs and clubs. So they were just playing on this good pal type of image, really being there on your shoulder and at any time. And with this micro campaign and some others where they were building again on this type of brand consumer equality and friendship, being the good guy that helps you get wasted in a way, they got the same success with a comparable, at least, success with the other huge campaign that we worked on, with significantly less effort invested in it. So, what we learned from this was, well, not that you don't need values as a brand. Of course, you still need values because, well, not because people need to be in love with you, but because there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of fatigue around consumption, if you want, these days. As everybody was saying here, people are firstly people and less consumers. Consumption is just a little part of their lives. So you need to have values, just that they trust you and they don't feel that when they make a decision, they don't have remorse around the decisions. They want to make fast decisions to minimize the time they spend in the shop. They don't have time to listen to each brand stating their whys and values and talents every time they go shopping. So you just have to have that message alive there so they feel at ease when they take you. The other learning is that, as Elise was saying, brands are in the friend zone, and this is all right because it's all right because it's less pressure. Not all brands can be superheroes. Well, Tesla can be a superhero. They're shrinking the carbon footprint of the world, but not any brand should be a superhero because it's tiring and it's aggressive at some level for consumers. So just being there when you're needed and in your spot, just beside the consumer in the moment of in the moment they need you, is probably a better strategy than being prophetic or visionary at all time, and it's less pressure for brands as well. So if you give out free cigarettes, it's probably very good if they need them, but if you give out thousands of cigarettes, like in the campaign we work for, you're just yelling to the consumer, I'm this big, huge brand that is powerful, and I can throw this for you just so you notice me. And the third learning is, well, about trends, that they should be taken more, I think, as inspiration. They shouldn't be really structured, validated, measured. They should be just that source of constant spark to give them more energy to the relationship, to the communication between brand and consumer, and just be really embedded in day-to-day life and actionable in the smallest parts of life, so that consumer really read them, because you don't have the same share of voice and time to talk to them.
So practically what we are saying is that under these economical circumstances that are so infused with trends, brands should take a chance and step out of the tactical area and, enter the wide open strategy field. Bearing in mind that the consumers, people, after all, do not buy brands or products, but buy the ideas that stand behind them. And, together with them, the underlying set of values and beliefs that reflect their own. And that's why brands should pursue, this soulful and meaningful direction, that it's full of substance and in the same time allows the transformation of the trade relationships into transactional relationships that, if you want, connecting individual landmarks. So this means that brands that serve a higher purpose, be it an ideal or, just a fundamental value that's impacting human life while, keeping being engaged daily with the consumers, are the ones that might have some moral authority on the new and, emerging consumer while still feeling comfortable in the friend zone. And all the images that you've seen in our presentations are user-generated content, so are our consumers' production. Thank you very much.